Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today we have a very exciting one that I have been waiting for, and that is my very first driving impressions of the all-new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. Now, believe it or not, this vehicle is actually sold. I'm going to put fuel in it for the people that are actually purchasing this vehicle, but I have an opportunity to drive about 10 miles or so total in this vehicle, go to put gas in it, and ultimately give you guys my very first driving impressions, which I'm excited about. This is literally the very first couple minutes I've actually sat inside the vehicle. I'm sure I'll have a couple more minutes to poke around and actually understand what some of these second row differences are in terms of the legroom, because the battery sits underneath the floor, changes the floor plan a little bit. But this is literally me giving you guys my raw first impressions because I don't have a lot of time with this particular vehicle. So immediately setting out, under the hood, you can hear the 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired to the hybrid electric system. Total system output is going to be, I think, 329 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque. Either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive is available. This particular one is all-wheel drive as equipped and is going to be the base MSRP. And speaking of MSRP, Hyundai recently announced yesterday that they are increasing Palisade Hybrid and future allocations $500, just like that of the V6 that they did, I think, a month or two ago that I reported on the channel. So, V6 and hybrids have now increased a total of $500 over that of their original starting MSRPs that I've quoted here on the channel. But immediately, getting up to the stoplight here, you heard the 4-cylinder kick on for a minute, then it kicks off. It does have a little bit of state of charge in the high voltage battery. But I'm really curious to go up this incline or this hill here and feel what the power is like out of the system, because it's substantially more powerful than that of the V6. Obviously, one of the reasons that I've been really wanting to drive this vehicle and experience it, to know whether the V6 or the hybrid is going to be my preferred recommendation in terms of this vehicle. Fuel economy is substantially better. This vehicle is rated at 29 mpg combined, which allows for over 550 miles on a full tank of fuel in a calligraphy, and I think just over 600 miles of total fuel range out of a front-wheel drive SCL or SCL Premium in those more efficient trim levels with the smaller wheels and tires. But really here on the interior, I'm not noticing anything too much different. One thing that I do want to point out, since we are actually going to put fuel inside this vehicle, is the hybrids actually get a fuel cap release button here to the left side of the steering wheel, where the regular V6 vehicles do not, because they are push to release. So here we are, just eco drive mode. Putting my foot down in, oh my goodness. This thing has a good amount of torque off the line. That's exactly what I was expecting with this powertrain over the V6. Oh my goodness, this thing feels like a hybrid, and a pretty sporty one at that. Pretty cool to see all of this. We'll go ahead and change the drive modes here. Looks like Eco is going to be the normal drive mode, but we do have Sport and My Drive, as well as the Terrain drive modes just below all of that. Oh my goodness. So as somebody who has a Lexus press vehicle this week, this vehicle feels very similar in its performance to that, just because it's a pretty powerful hybrid system. You guys can already tell by my reaction. This is going to be the one that I'm going to prefer in terms of driving dynamics and performance under the hood. Although you can hear the 2.5 liter turbo inside of the cabin, maybe a little bit more than that of the V6. I'd have to drive the V6 once again back to back, and maybe I will, just to understand how much of that noise is really coming into the cabin itself. Don't want to floor it too much, but just half throttle. Oh my goodness. Way more torquey, way more effortless than that of the V6. This is truly the performance option within the lineup. Of course, going back to some of the capabilities and capacities of the hybrid versus the gas, you have 4,000 pounds of towing with the hybrid, 5,000 pounds with the correctly equipped V6 variants. Setting out there from the stop, the 6-speed feels reasonably smooth. Okay. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary for the 6-speed automatic that the hybrids come with versus the 8-speed of the gas. Let's see at 40 miles an hour if we have any ability to go into fully electric driving under light throttle applications. Looks like it is staying out of full EV mode currently. We only have 50% on the high voltage battery. It's pretty impressive to see 216 miles of estimated range with less than half a tank of fuel. I think that's really where the benefits of the hybrid are going to come into play, is just how much range this vehicle has for a large mid-size 3-row SUV in this segment. You know, very similar numbers to the most efficient Grand Highlander standard hybrid in terms of total fuel range and driving range on a full tank of gas. Of course, I love the ride quality. The ride quality feels pretty much identical to that of the standard Palisades, which I've driven here on the channel several times. Starting out here from a stop. Yeah, I mean, the transition between gas and electric feels pretty darn smooth. And you really do not have to push the throttle much to get the desired acceleration and forward movement out of this vehicle versus the gas Palisade, which feels a little bit more lethargic, a little underpowered if I'm being quite frank. But this one, absolutely not. I'm not feeling really any, like I said, suspension or ride differences between the two, but there is certainly going to be a little bit more weight in the hybrid Palisade, which I'm sure Hyundai did account for when tuning the suspension and the dampers of this vehicle, versus that of the gas, which is already heavier than that of the outgoing last generation Palisade. The transition between the gas engine and the electric system is pretty darn quick. It's, relatively quick to actually shut off and go back to fully EV. Cruising around the lot using the electric motor in the system. So here we are in the brand new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid, and one of the interesting things between the hybrid and the gas Palisades is this button located here to the left side of the steering wheel. There's a little fuel cap or fuel door release button, which the V6s do not. It says wait until fuel door opens up there on the dash, and you actually can see it is popped out right here of the standard Palisades, which of course are going to be plastic. So we'll pop it out one more time, push it right there. Fuel door is open. And of course you have the normal cap release to go ahead and put fuel inside of the vehicle. Okay, so I just put a full tank of fuel inside of this vehicle, and the range is saying 523 miles, which is a little conservative, likely just due to the fact that this vehicle has not been driven in an efficient manner, so the reading's a little bit lower, but that's still really impressive for the few miles that has been put on this vehicle. And yeah, overall, this thing is mighty impressive. Now, I did poke around with the second row seat while I was waiting for the pump to finish, and you actually seemingly can tell that there might be a difference in the floor and the legroom back there, which I want to compare next to a V6 going from vehicle to vehicle, because it is a couple inches difference, and that is because the battery lies under the second row seats and things like that underneath the vehicle. So Hyundai had to adjust the floor pan, and essentially you do lose a little bit of rear seat legroom in the vertical orientation, not in the actual horizontal. So do keep that in mind. The legroom is measured both vertically and horizontally. It's not horizontal legroom you're losing. It's actually the height between the floor and the actual seat cushion itself. This seems like it's going to be a huge hit for Hyundai, and I would not doubt at all that there's going to be a substantial amount of these that are sold relative to that of the V6. Now, of course, Hyundai's expecting, from what I have heard, the V6 to still be the volume option within the lineup. However, I think they're thinking sales are going to be somewhere between 60% gas, 40% hybrid, maybe closer to 50-50 as time goes on. We're going to have to see ultimately how that works out with production and sales of each vehicle and each trim level and model. But yeah, overall, I think this is going to be an absolute hit for Hyundai. I can't wait to spend more time behind the wheel of the hybrid. And like I said, do comparison videos and everything like that here in hopefully the next couple of weeks or so. But I want to get this very first driving impression video of the hybrid out there for you guys, because as we know, I've reported these are on sale now at select dealers across the country, and more are coming over the next week to 2 weeks. And here in the month of October, you're really going to start to see these go out in some sort of volume. So if you've been waiting either on a deposit or a sold order, or wanting to get one in stock, you really got to get with your local dealership, pay attention to inventory when they're supposed to arrive, because this one did not last more than really an hour after coming off the truck. I mean, this thing, it was kind of a coincidence how it happened, but it was unsold when it arrived, sold about an hour after it got off the truck, and that's as far as that went. But I mean, yeah, that's pretty swift acceleration, and I'm not putting my foot down, I'm not beating on this vehicle, because I know somebody is taking delivery of it. But ultimately, I think they're going to be very happy with it, and anyone who buys this vehicle, we'll have to see how reliability goes with the 2.5 liter turbo in this new hybrid electric system, because it is not a unfamiliar combination of components, but it is some new componentry, the electric motor system, and pairing this engine to a hybrid system in general, which Hyundai has not done in the past with what they've offered with just a 2.5 liter by itself in the Santa Fe, and vehicles such as the Sonata N-Line paired to either dual clutch or the new 8-speed automatic. Okay, so we got a little bit of bonus coverage here in this video, because it really did pique my interest, and it's been a little bit since I've driven the V6 Palisade. I hopped in one of the exact same spec, a calligraphy Ecotronic gray with the black interior, and we're going to take this vehicle for a test drive and see what my V6 impressions are coming straight out of the hybrid, because again, this vehicle ultimately felt a little bit sluggish when I first drove it, but I want to see, just what it feels like in comparison to that of the hybrid. Now I'm going to do the exact same route on this vehicle, just to go up the exact same hill, see if I notice anything depending on the type of road or the incline or anything like that. But to the left of the steering wheel, in case you're wondering what the fuel cap release button replaces, it's the engine stop start on off button over here. So Hyundai cleverly reused a position that's obviously not needed in the the hybrid vehicle that is needed inside the gas Palisade. So lights turn green, wait for this car to go, give it a little bit of room here. We're just in normal drive mode. So what I feel in the V6 Palisade is the second to third shift, there's a noticeable lack of torque on tap at a certain RPM and a certain rev range of this 3.5 liter V6, where there's plenty of power with the electric motor and the turbo engine at a low rev range in the hybrid. And that's something that, I've complained about in multiple Palisade videos, or mentioned this at this point, is there's not necessarily lack of power all around. It's just the fact that there's torque issues, and the shift programming seems to want to get always into a higher gear than I think ultimately what it feels is natural in the progression of the V6 engine. Engine stop start's actually pretty darn smooth, not too bad. It is a pretty warm, hot day, so the AC gets warm pretty quick when the engine gets shut off. But yeah, the thing I'm noticing with the V6 right off the bat is the fact that you progressively have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing on the pedal as you're trying to go faster speed, because there's not, an unlimited or a abundance of torque on tap like the hybrid had with both the turbo and the hybrid electric system. So, I think the V6 is ultimately okay. It's just you have to really be okay with how the vehicle drives, how they've programmed the transmission, the shift points, the tuning of the vehicle, because I'm finding myself always having to give it more throttle application than I think should be necessary, just to get to the desired output level from this powertrain. So I think that's basically what I want to leave, where I want to leave this video is the V6 is going to be okay, maybe for the average person out there, but if you want additional efficiency, you want additional performance, upon my first impressions and first drive of the hybrid, that is certainly going to be the one that I am going to recommend and would purchase if I was in the market for one of these vehicles for now the same exact $2,200 price differential, because Hyundai raised the gas at one point and now they've raised the hybrid, so now they're back to the exact same pricing differential that they came out with launch. They're just $500 more expensive than they did, you know, several months ago. But outside of that, not noticing any ride quality differences. You have the small amount of rear seats leg space or leg room that is different in the vertical orientation, but outside of that, I think both are going to be very solid options. It's just a matter of if you want to pay the premium for the hybrid because either you want the fuel efficiency, you want the driving range, or you want the performance from that new hybrid system. But with all being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and or found it helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my additional Hyundai Palisade and Palisade Hybrid coverage that I've already posted here on the channel. Let me know your thoughts. If you're waiting on a Palisade Hybrid because you put a deposit down, reserve one at your local dealership, or just waiting for them to become in stock so you can actually go ahead and buy one for yourself. But yeah, I look forward to having more of these available for me to create some content with you guys for. And with all being said, hope to see you guys in the next one.